Do you need to know the notes on a guitar? No, you really don't. Guitar is one of those things where you can really be pretty good at it without even knowing what you're doing at all. But here are a couple reasons why you should know at least some of the notes on your guitar. Reason number one, shame. Guitar just seems to be one of those things where because of the nature of being able to get good at it without really knowing what you're doing, certain guitar players will collect a lot of inner shame and they'll be ashamed of themselves for not knowing some of the basics they may have skipped over just by kind of just screwing around and stuff like that. Like not knowing the notes or not knowing proper music theory. I feel like on a certain level, it creates kind of an ego, which is why like guitar blogs and stuff like that, there's so much hate. There's so much hate, it's a ridiculous amount of hate. And all that comes from an inner shame. So Lord knows that there are more important things in your life that you should be ashamed of, that don't let your lack of guitar knowledge be one of them. Now, another really good reason is just chords. Like, if you know the notes, whenever you learn a new chord, like let's say for this one right here, this is like a G major 7 voicing. If you learn one shape, you actually can multiply that by 12. So you learn one new chord and you'll learn 12 new chords just because I know that this is a G, I'm gonna root it, make a G major 7. I know that this note right here is an E, I'm gonna have that same shape and root it, now it's an E major 7. Back one, that's a D major 7. Up, F major 7. So it really kind of takes anything you learn, you can just multiply it by 12. So let's kind of just review really quick what the notes are and why 12 is an important number. In fact, every guitar usually has a fret that has 2 dots on it, and if you didn't know that, that's the 12th fret, because 12 is the total number of notes that there are in all of music. So let's just review that really quick. Let's start with an A. So the first note is A, then it goes to A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, and then it goes back around to A. So those are all 12 notes. Now if we were to play that on, so let's count them out, see how it works on a guitar, right? So I'm gonna start at the A string. Now it's called the A string because when you hit it open, you're playing an A note. So when you hit the first fret, that's an A sharp, then you go to a B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, and A. So we went all the way through the entire musical alphabet, started with an A, and ended on an A. Now that's called an octave. One question you may have is, if I just went 12 frets, why is it called an octave, the oct meaning 8? Well, it doesn't mean the total number of frets, it actually means the notes in the major scale. So major scale wise, if I play the major scale, I'd go A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? So right off the bat, if you just know the names of the strings, E, A, D, G, B, E, and then you go to the 12th fret, this is also E, A, D, G, B, E. So right there, those are 12 notes that you have memorized the way through. And using this information, you can find absolutely any note, just count it off. Like if you want to know what the 6th fret on the A string, you just go A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp. There you go, okay? And another trick that you can do is if you just start to learn a couple of them. Like say you just know that the 3rd fret on the E string is a G, right? Like you play a G major chord a lot, maybe you know that root note is a G. You can mirror that over the 12th fret. So if I know that the 3rd fret is a G on this string, I can go to the 12th fret and take the 3rd fret from there, and that's also going to be a G. Now I've octaved up. So that's the 15th fret that you know is the same as the 3rd fret. So you can just add 12 and you get the exact same note on any string. One thing that's helped me a lot is just memorizing a couple of them. You don't have to memorize every single fret on the guitar. Very few people have that. Like if you asked me what the 8th fret on the D string is, I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. But I know that I could octave down to A sharp or B flat, so I know that that's an A sharp. Now, how I did that is, let's just take any note. Let's take the 5th fret on the E string, and I know that this is an A because it's the E string, so I start with an open E, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, okay? Now, I just know that there's a kind of a pattern. If I skip 2 strings down and 2 frets down, that's gonna give me the same note. So this is an A, and this is also an A. That's the way to get to an octave. Now the music behind that is I did the major scale, and the hand shape for the major scale looks like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1, 8. The octave is the same. So I know this is an A. I know that this is an A. Now this trick still works on the A string if you were to root a note on the A string. So let's say, again, you probably know a C major chord, right? So the root note there is a C. So if you're to do that thing where you skip a string, go 2 strings down and 2 frets down, that's also a C. So by having this one note memorized, you're actually kind of doubling the amount that you know. Now here's where it gets a little tricky, is if you try doing that on the D string, right? So say I knew this was an A, so I know on the D string this is also an A. If I try to do that with the B string, that's actually not an A. That is an A flat or a G sharp. Because of the way the B string is tuned, you have to compensate. So instead of going down 2 frets, you just have to go down 3 frets. And that'll do the same thing. So, again, let's go back to this G note right here, 3E. I know that this is a G. I can use that trick by going down and finding out that this also is a G. And then I can use that trick compensating for the B string going down. I know that this is also a G. And then I can mirror over the 12th fret and know that this is also a G. So those are 4 spots that I can just figure the note relative to just memorizing one note. So I'm memorizing one spot and then using that trick to find the other notes all along the fretboard. And if you do just a few of these, eventually you'll be able to figure out absolutely any note on the entire guitar. And again, the reason I knew this was a G is because the low E string and the high E string probably goes without saying, but they're the same note, a low E and a high E. So anything, so if this is a G, this is also a G. This is an A, this is also an A. So again, you can figure out any note by just starting at the open one. So like if I wanted to find out what the 5th fret on the D string is, I could just count it D sharp, E, F sharp, G. I can get it that way, or I can know that this is a G an octave down to a G, just like that. The same thing kind of applies counting backwards. Sometimes it'll be quicker to count backwards than forward. So let's say the 10th fret on the D string, right? Let's find out what this is. We could octave down from a C and figure that's a C because I have the 8th fret memorized as a C. And then or it might be faster to go backwards. You know that this is a D string, so the 12th fret is also a D. So you can just go backwards. Start at D, go back 1, which is C sharp, D flat, whatever, same thing, and then go to a C, right? So if you just memorize a few of them, my personal thing is if you memorize the first 7 frets on the first 2 strings, that is an excellent base to jump to any other note on the guitar, just using those tricks, the octave tricks, kind of like going all over the place. And honestly, the first 7 frets isn't really too big of a deal. If you just kind of quiz yourself on it, a lot of these things you probably already root chords on there anyway, like this G. You already know this is a G, probably, or like a B minor maybe. You already know this is a B. So really just challenge yourself, memorize 7 frets on the E and the A string, and then just use that thing where you can just skip to the octave and then mirror over the 12th fret. And before you know it, you'll be able to quickly and easily find any note on the guitar, be more confident, stop feeling ashamed of yourself, and be able to move chord voicings around and do a lot of cool stuff.